Here's a little show using Camtasia about kiosk and linking, mostly about kiosks. Not much difference in the linking of any time that you link one file to another. And of course my name and the course. A kiosk is defined as a standalone unit, able to function by itself. You see them a lot in malls, people selling cell phones, perfume, other items kind of out in the middle of where you're walking. Those are called kiosks. We're more particularly concerned about monitors, as you see in the screen there, the young lady looking at the screen. More likely a touch screen. We don't have touch screens, but we'll play like we do. I did use one in a convention center here not too long ago, where to find a particular room is a pretty big place. You followed a series of things when you touched the screen, and eventually found directions to the room I needed to go. Hotel is very common. At Sheridan in New York a couple of weeks ago, I was able to look up my room expenses at the hotel instead of having to go to a person to check out, and use that to check out with. In this class, kiosks consist of a main show, which is usually 2 to 5 slides long. It's usually shorter because well, there it is, 3 to 5 slides. It is timed, and it's continuous loop. If you don't put the timing on it or don't put the loop on it, then the kiosk is not going to work. It's a continually running show. It doesn't have any ending point. It's got to have timing to be able to move from one slide to the next. It's got to be able to return back to the previous slide so it sits there all day and run. If you leave out any one of those two things, you're going to get a bad grade for the kiosk. Sub-shows are what I call files that you link from the main show to the sub-shows. They're completely separate shows. You're going to do them and save them under their own particular names. They are timed, but they are not looped. They have to move on their own, but if you loop them, they never go back to the main show. So do not put the looping check mark when you're doing kiosks, especially on the sub-shows. Be sure you get that straight. Main shows are timed and looped. Sub-shows are timed but not looped. Here's an example of a menu slide that's part of your main show. Some kind of, in this case, we're doing, travel video, and they're going to choose between New Orleans and Dallas, which city that they want to look at. And you give them the instructions down to bottom left-hand corner. You can say touch or click or whatever, height of which of the options that they want to check. Now, you can have more than 2 options, obviously. In most of our cases, we're only going to have 2 because it's all, whether it's 2 to 5 or 10, however many options you have to have a sub-show. So in this case, we have the main show, and we're going to have 2 sub-shows. One that's going to be to New Orleans, and one that's going to be to Dallas. This next slide shows you what happens when you highlight the word New Orleans, and you right-click on your button, look for the mouse, and look for the hyperlink button, and click on hyperlink, and then you go find the show that you've already created for New Orleans and click on it. You know that you've linked it because the word changes color and it puts an underline under it. Dallas has not been done yet. Normally, you want to link both the text and the picture. You can link anything on the screen. It doesn't really matter as long as you can get those grab boxes around it. You can link any idea. You also would click on the picture to the right there and do the same thing. Right click, find hyperlink, click on it, find the same sub-show that you made, click on it, and both the picture and the text, when the person was looking at the show, they would click on it and it would go to the New Orleans sub-show. Same thing, you would repeat the procedure for Dallas. You see here now Dallas has changed colors, and so both of those cities would be linked. Probably would prefer the exciting cities to visit heading to come in earlier than it did. when you have finished the main show and the sub-shows, that means you've got them linked, you've got them looping the way that you want, then you add the timing to both the main show and the sub-show. Remember, the main show is looped, the sub-show is not looped. This is how you do it. You click on to add the timing, you click on slideshow, rehearse timing. You don't want to wait too long for any item that you're bringing in. Generally, you bring in lines differently, the pictures differently. Remember, somebody's standing out in the hall or somewhere in the mall or in a particular place. They're looking at it. If it takes too long, they'll walk away or they'll think something's happened to the computer. So 3 or 4 seconds is generally enough. For the menu slide, you want a little longer since the person has to make a choice. Give them enough time to read the screen or look at the screen and make a choice. Then click on. Here's how to put the looping in the show. Go to the slideshow menu at the top. Click on Setup Show, put check mark, and loop continuously until escape. This means, of course, the show will run till you hit the escape key on the keyboard on the top left-hand corner on most keyboards. Be one reason why, if you were doing this in real life, you might unhook the keyboard so that somebody couldn't hit the escape key and fool with the computer. As long as they can't get the escape key, they couldn't stop the show. Always test the show. You can do the timing over if it's not any good. There are different ways to adjust the timing. Be sure that you close the sub-shows before you run the show. If the sub-shows are open, now listen to this, if the sub-shows are open when you run for a test or whatever, sometimes or most of the time the sub-shows will not go back to the main show without hitting the escape key or some other item. So before you run your test show, just have the main show open, the sub-shows be closed. They go back automatically. You don't have to do anything. That's what linking is all about. There it is. Closed sub-shows of the show will not return to the main show. I don't know how many people forget to do that. I do every now and then, but that doesn't mean the linkings won't go back. They always do. Of course, when you link a show from one place to another, the computer puts where it went to find the sub-show. If you you go put it on a different computer or on a jump drive or something, the computer's still looking on the hard drive for the show. So be sure that when you move things around, that you relink. You just remove the hyperlink and relink it wherever you end up. Computers just do what you tell them to do, and so it will keep the old location if you don't change it. Text is very minimum, small amount of words, mostly pictures. We're a visual society. 1 or 2 words, 3 words, a slide is plenty. Don't get carried away. I don't want to see sentences on sub-shows, especially on the travel thing. Let the pictures do the talking. This is not a full-blown sales thing. Your main thing is you want to get the people interested in the travel that you're offering or whatever you're using the kiosk for. It's not a formal presentation for text. There it is. Use lots of pictures. Of course, rule number 10. If you have any questions, this is about as straightforward as I can get it. Kiosks can be fun, pretty straightforward. We'll practice both kiosks and linking. You'll have a little history assignment or test to do in a couple of days.